Hello, it's a lovely good evening and welcome to Camnet TV Main News. I'm Jeffrey Ziambo to present the news. Top stories in the news tonight. The UPND administration labeled clueless on reviving the economy. Government accused of backtracking on enacting the Access to Information Bill. A teachers' union demands the removal of retired teachers from government houses. In international news, Western Ukrainian cities in need of aid. And in sports news, NAPSA and Red Arrows to play in the ABSA final.
On Monday, 4th April 2022, on National Matters, join Pastor Moses Chiluba as he hosts former Secretary to Cabinet, Ambassador Leslie Mbula. Don't miss as they discuss the civil service in Zambia.
Invite others to participate through phoning on Skype, Zoom, WhatsApp and text messages. Make a date with us. Camnet TV, not just another channel.
Now the news in detail. Stakeholders have urged the United Party for National Development Administration to actualize its obligation to deliver inclusive access to water and sanitation, considering that it is a rights issue. Child rights activist Henry Kabwe says it is important that government accelerates the provision of water and sanitation, especially in rural areas, in order to improve the quality of life. Meanwhile, the National Water and Supply Sanitation Council, NWASCO, says addressing the right to water is a progressive realization. NWASCO Chief Inspector Peter Mtale says they are committed to achieving universal access to water, sanitation and hygiene as enshrined in the Vision 2030. Patrick Soko has more in this report.
The right to water entails everyone to have access to sufficient, self-acceptable, physically accessible and affordable water for personal and domestic use. According to the National Water Supply and Sanitation Council, NWASCO 2020 Urban and Peri-Urban Water Supply and Sanitation Sector Report, national urban water coverage is 87.5%, with about 6,627,247 million people being served with water. However, more still needs to be done, given that Zambia's population is estimated at 18 million people. The right to water remains a matter of concern in various localities, among them Monali constituency.
What we normally do is we just get the guys to go and fetch for water for us. That side down, we pay for the guys. If he fetches like 6 buckets or 7, we give him like 10 kwacha, 12 kwacha. So I'm appealing to our MP to come to our area here, to come and visit us, to see the problem we're facing.
We have records here, we have paid those bills. We don't own the Lusaka water and sewerage any money. We are paying bills, but we have no water. We are fetching water from far places, and we are paying for that water, which means we are paying twice. Come to our aid. We can't be paying for water which we don't see. Our taps are dry.
Approximately 8,700 Zambians, including 6,600 children under the age of 5, die each year from diarrhea, nearly 90% of which is directly attributed to poor water, sanitation and hygiene. And the child rights activist Henry Kabwe notes the need to continue improving access to water and sanitation.
We want to urge the government to ensure that rural development is not just looked at as more like doing those places a favor, but we also have to ensure that rural areas have some semblance of sanity, have some semblance of making sure that the people that live there have access to clean water.
During his address to Parliament on the progress made in the application of national values and principles, President Hakainde Hichilema assured that water and sanitation are among priorities.
We are also working to enhance access to water and sanitation. Again, wonderful instrument, never thought about before. Good portion of CDF will go to water.
Spoke to National Water Supply and Sanitation Council, NWASCO Chief Inspector Peter Mtale, who outlined the commitment towards resolving the right to water.
They say water is a human right. It does not mean that overnight every person should have water. In fact, United Nations, what they require is that when you declare that water is a human right in your country, you need to have a program that will ensure that all the people have access to water. So it's a progressive realization. It's not an overnight realization. So when you come to Zambia, for instance, we have got our Vision 2030. That's a program. What we want is universal coverage. So by just virtue of having such a program where we want to cover everyone, it means that for United Nations, you have met the requirement. So it's a progressive realization. It's not an overnight realization.
Mr. Mutale adds that all the 11 water utilities are cognizant of their responsibility towards achieving universal access to water.
So for us as NWASCO, because of this issue of human rights, that's why we're talking about cross-subsidy for water. Because what we want is that at the end of the day, each and every customer should afford this. It's in line with what we are talking about. And also, when you look at our license conditions or our license requirements, we require that when you give a license to a commercial utility, progressively they have to cater for each and every person that is under the service area. So the tariff is one of the things actually that we use to ensure that there is progressive realization of this right so that everyone can afford.
Just as one of the famous quotes by Oden suggests, thousands have lived without love, but no one without water. Patrick Soko, Camnet News in Lusaka.
Meanwhile, in a bid to address challenges in the water and sanitation sector, the Plumbers Association of Zambia has disclosed that the development of a national plumbing standard code aimed at regulating the industry has advanced. PAZA President Moses Chongo says the code will facilitate the standardization of plumbing works in the country in accordance with the international standards. More in this report.
The water and sanitation sector has continued to face its challenges, ranging from supply to poor sanitation. And this is due to various factors, which includes the lack of proper plumbing infrastructure in the country. President for the Plumbing Association of Zambia, Moses Chongo, has disclosed that the association is developing a national plumbing standard code which will aim at regulating the plumbing industry.
Currently, we are developing what we call National Plumbing Standard Code. This National Plumbing Standard Code, it is the law now coming in Zambia for the first time since the independence of this country, which will actually regulate the plumbers in the country and also to ensure that things are put in order and no shortcuts, and to ensure that everyone who's working in plumbing works need to be registered and also tested. And when doing such works in plumbing works, the person have to sign what we call the warranty certificate, which will be also shared with the client, also with the organization, the Plumbers of Zambia, in conjunction with the Ministry of Water, Sanitation and Hygiene and other stakeholders. So our plan in Zambia is to ensure that plumbing standards are considered by the community and by the government at large.
Mr. Chongo since appealed to community members to desist from vandalism habits and throwing hard materials that block pipes, thereby affecting several pipe systems.
Zambia, we have got a lot of challenges in Zambia, especially in terms of water, sanitation and hygiene, where we find that the mentality of the people in the community, they actually contribute to the blockages of the sewer system, and at the same time, in terms of pipe work vandalism, the community also contribute. And yet, the water utility company, the government is spending a lot of money to construct or maybe to reconstruct this water utility infrastructure. And what we are planning to do as the Plumbers of Zambia is to ensure that, number one, people who are dealing with these works, or maybe people who are in this infrastructure development of water, sanitation, and plumbing, are registered member of the Plumbers Association of Zambia. And this is because we want to enhance or maybe to link the people to understand the importance of this industry in the country.
Plumbing skills are critical in supplementing the water sector development in the country. Alex Shimba, Camnet News in Lusaka.
The National Union of Public and Private Education in Zambia, NUPEZ, has given the Ministry of Education an ultimatum of up to the next term to remove retirees that were paid or dues to vacate government houses in order to allow those serving to occupy them. Speaking during a media briefing in Sunday in Lusaka, Union Executive President Victor Muyumba says they have continued receiving numerous complaints from their members on the lack of accommodation. Meanwhile, Mr. Muyumba disclosed that the union will conduct a countrywide consultation with its members to get their submissions on pension reforms. More in this report.
As government continues implementing pensions reforms consultation on the proposed introduction of pre-retirement partial benefits withdraw under the National Pension Scheme Authority NAPSA have progressed. Sunday, the 3rd of April 2022, the National Union of Public and Private Educators of Zambia, NUPEZ, held a media briefing in Lusaka which saw various issues get discussed, starting from the pension reforms, the amendments of Retirement Act, among other things. And speaking during the media briefing, NUPEZ Executive President Victor Muyumba disclosed that the union will conduct a countrywide consultation process from its members on what they think should constitute the pension reforms. The union also called on government to amend the National Pension Scheme, Amendment Number 7 of 2013, in order to reduce the retirement age.
The fact that partial withdrawal, as has been discussed, is needed is not debatable. We need to have this implemented. But at the same time, our call on the government is to ensure that there is a sensitization of the members in terms of entrepreneurial skills. Because if this money is withdrawn and taken to other use other than investment, then we are going to have high levels of poverty. We need to have a certain mindset and attitude, even as we advocate for the partial withdrawals.
Mr. Muyumba also called on government to come up with a statutory instrument, SI, that will introduce a mandatory industrial break for the last 3 weeks of every year. A move he claims will help enable workers to get used to what they want to engage in after retirement. Meanwhile, the union has given government an ultimatum to vacate all those who retired and got paid their full retirement packages but are still occupying government houses.
We have a number of members that have complained, they have come through to complain to the union that they remain unaccommodated, and yet the institutional houses that are there have continued being occupied by people that have been paid in full in terms of retirement packages. So we give government up to the beginning of next term to ensure that these retirees vacate the houses. If this is not done, we are going to ask our members that don't have housing units in those areas where retirees are occupying houses to wait until accommodation is made available. Because we can't continue with this trend. It is creating a wrong attitude altogether. And everybody now will be saying, even when I retire, I can stay in an institutional house. This is encouraging laziness.
Meanwhile, Federation of Free Trade Union of Zambia National Women's Chairperson Charity Tembo says the partial withdrawal of one's retirement package is a progressive move that will help especially the women folk have the financial capacity to do something constructive.
With this, since it will be partial, meaning there will be that gradual or withdraw, today you withdraw so much, you use it maybe to acquire some land, you start preparing up to the last day. So this actually will reduce poverty, and of course sending us to early graves, because once you deplete everything that you got as in your lump sum and you don't use it or spend it to the well-intended purpose, I'm telling you that is death.
President Hakainde Hichilema promised to ensure that pensioners do not have to wait until retirement before they can start benefiting from their pension contributions. The now governing party also pledged to see to it that NAPSA contributors are given the choice periodically access their pension on a percentage basis in real time and ahead of retirement. The option of the partial withdrawal of pension contribution is for specific purpose, including investment in business, among other things. Miriam Kemba reporting for Camnet TV News.
The Governance, Elections, Advocacy, Research Services GEARS initiative says the country needs to move away from speeches to action on the enactment of the Access to Information Bill, which has continued to drag for many years. Recently, the Information and Media Permanent Secretary, Kennedy Kalunga, announced that government would take the Access to Information ATI bill to all the 10 provinces of the country in order to widen stakeholder consultation on the bill. But GEARS Initiative Zambia Executive Director McDonald Chipenzi says the country can make a reference to previous ministerial reports and commitments on the ATI bill and make progress. More in this report.
In Zambia, the advocacy for the access to information or freedom of information has been associated with journalists. The thinking is that journalists are individuals who need information for their work. This is despite the fact that the access to information is a right provided for in international law, which must be enjoyed by everyone. However, due to this misconception, the fight for the ATI law has been left to the media. For now, the only assurance for the media is that there is political will from President Hakainde Hichilema, who guaranteed a free press and of course assured to deliver the access to information law.
Long-awaited Access to Information Bill will be actualized, and we want to foster, we will foster self-regulation of the media. I think the media operate better in terms of media institutions, in terms of media practitioners, when they self-regulate. Obviously, when you self-regulate, you take responsibility to deliver correct media, to deliver facts, to deliver, if you like, fairness.
However, recently, Information and Media Permanent Secretary Kennedy Kalunga announced that the government will take the Access to Information ATI bill for the 10 provinces of the country in order to widen stakeholder consultation on the bill. But this statement disappointed civil rights activist Prebna Changala.
By time, because they want to confuse the enemy. You are the enemy. First and foremost, check who made the statement. A permanent secretary. The Access to Information Bill is almost 20 years old, if you are not aware. It started in 2001. You are still fighting it up to today. Now they want to take it to the 10 provinces to do what? And who are they going to find in those 10 provinces? Who are they going to talk to? They are just trying to tell you that we are not ready. They have started backtracking. The earlier you catch them, the better.
But Governance, Elections, Advocacy, Research Services GEARS Initiative Executive Director McDonald Chipenzi says now is the time to act on the ATI and not for mere talks.
We want to move from speech to action. And we cannot continue to be rewriting speeches, okay? The PS today is speaking the same thing which the PS said yesterday. The other PS said in 2020. The other PS said in 2011. No. This time, all what the ministry should be doing or government should be done is just to look at what has been said, what was committed, and move on. Not only that, let us use parliamentary reports on government assurance.
He says the Access to Information law has dragged for a long time, hence it must be enacted as assured by the United Party for National Development Administration.
Reports where government assured access to information will be ready in this year, and what? Let's hold those things. The new government now should just come, extract those assurances and put action to it. We cannot continue to talk. We have talked and talked. And we cannot continue talking until Jesus comes. We must, as a Christian nation, we must realize that when Jesus comes, there will be no talking. It will be action. Either you go to hell or you go to heaven. Simple. Nothing like, no, mwana, me, I need to explain. There's no explanation. Is account for your stay on earth.
On the 3rd of May 2022, Zambia will join the global community in marking the World Press Freedom Day, again without the Access to Information law, but commitments. Patrick Soko, Camnet News in Lusaka.
The Cleaning Association of Zambia has charged that the recent increase in the price of fuel will condemn cleaners in the country into misery and unemployment. Association President Lawrence Makumbi says the 1,680 kwacha minimum wage entitled to cleaners has been swallowed by the rise in the price of commodities, especially transport. Mr. Makumbi tells Camnet News that it is difficult to negotiate salary adjustments for workers given that they also have binding contracts with firms which they provide services to. Mr. Makumbi says a decision by the government to be revising fuel prices on a monthly basis is negatively affecting their planning, thus proposing a 6-month review.
It has impacted us very negatively in that we are failing to plan, and right now we are facing challenges in that the escalating prices of fuel, especially the recent one, where now the fuel has been increased by over 4.5 kwacha. What has happened is that we have to now go back to the companies that have contracted us to go and negotiate or renegotiate our contract sums. We already know that this is a challenge because we have faced this before. Time and again, when we go back to the companies that have given us these projects to go and renegotiate with them, they say we have signed contracts. Contracts are signed annually or at times even 2 years in advance. And in those contracts, the payment sum is locked up in that we cannot go and renegotiate whatsoever has happened. Hence, we are now going to be faced with going into losses. If we go into losses, the direction that we may go is one, we need to go and renegotiate again with our workers on downsizing or on bringing down their salaries. This again will make us go against the stipulated minimum wage.
Leadership Movement President Dr. Richard Silumbe has charged that the United Party for National Development seems to have no clue on how to revive the economy in the wake of the prevailing high cost of living in the country. Dr. Silumbe has observed that there has been poor communication on the part of the UPND administration to make Zambians aware of where they want to take the country. Dr. Silumbe tells Camnet News that the cost of living cannot continue to rise without unveiling solutions to safeguard vulnerable citizens. Dr. Silumbe adds that the government must demonstrate that it cares for the people by enhancing social protection interventions, which he said are currently not adequate for Zambia's growing population. He says it is crucial that the government boosts the manufacturing industry in order to make the local economy resilient to external shocks.
New Dawn government is stuck with regard to the revival of the economy. These are economists. These are people who are moving around boasting that they are accountants, they are economists, and they are going to fix the economy. But we as Leadership Movement, we knew that an accountant or an economist would not fix the economy, because let's face it, what does the economy constitute? The economy constitutes production. You need to produce something, then you sell to other countries. Then when you sell, then you have revenue because you have forex, and that is the money that you can now talk about counting and trying to economize. So at the base of economic development, there must be production. And these are the people who do not understand anything about production. They don't understand anything about actually translating resources to the actual money, to the money, the medium of exchange that we talk about, that you can now start counting and you can start now budgeting for.
Movement for Promoting National Values and Principles CEO Josek Kunda says the rate at which the UPND administration is handling the economic situation, Zambia is likely to prosper in the next 5 years to come. In an interview with Camnet TV, Mr. Kunda adds that the different policies that the government is putting in place are clear indications that it is not only thinking about short-term success, but long-term success. In the meantime, Mr. Kunda notes with concern that the opposition Patriotic Front is politicizing various presidential appointments based on malice. More in this report.
Zambia, like any other African country, has not been spared from suffering from the effects of the war between Ukraine and Russia, which has seen the rise of the fuel pump price, a thing that is likely to see the price of various commodities increase. But as the economic hardship impacts get felt by everyone, the UPND administration has not seen it well during 7 months of their leadership in office, as different political players and some general members have questioned their governing capability.
They are thinking about Zambia. They are not concerned about the welfare of Zambians. These Zambians, you must know. Praise singers, time has come for you to also be realistic. Don't just go about singing praises without you understanding that on a daily basis, the cost of living for you too is getting more and more expensive. Let us wake up, Zambians.
However, several stakeholders, among some governance activists, do not share the same view as those opposing the current administration. Movement for Promoting National Values and Principles CEO Joseph Kunda says Zambia is likely to prosper in the next 5 years, looking at how the UPND administration is handling the country's economic crisis. During this interview, Mr. Kunda pointed out some of the things that the current administration has done and are seen as progressive.
Term success that our country might score, but at long-term policies, and that is dependent on equipping our citizens to realize that for our country to develop, it doesn't take the government, it doesn't take the state. Instead, it takes ourselves as ordinary citizens.
Mr. Kunda adds that the number of empowerment programs and the creation of the Ministry of SMEs is a sign that government is promoting the spirit of industriousness among citizens, unlike the dependence syndrome.
Now, when you look at the disbursements of the CDF funds and the composition and the criteria behind the arrangement, you will agree with me that this government is poised to score a lot of successes in entrepreneurship, in the sense that they want to help citizens to start coming up with something, businesses of their own, SMEs, they come up with projects of their own. So we want to develop, you know, from a spirit of dependency on the government, where we expect the government to put money in our pocket. Instead, the government wants to promote the spirit of industriousness, where our citizens must be hard-working.
Miriam Kemba, reporting for Camnet TV News.
United Party for National Development UPND Youth Chairman Gilbert Liswaniso has underscored the need for the church to continue participating actively in the national development agenda. Mr. Liswaniso says the church is one of the major stakeholders in development and that the UPND government will maximize every opportunity to work with it. Sunday, the youth chairman and Mongo mayoral candidate Nyambe Muyumbana congregated at Imbowa New Apostolic Church in Kanyonyo Ward, Mongo District. More in this report.
The United Party for National Development National Youth Chairman Gilbert Liswaniso has called on the church to actively participate in the national development agenda. Mr. Liswaniso thanked the church for playing a huge role in ensuring community members understand the need to form cooperatives so as to benefit from the Constituency Development Fund. He says this when he joined the Mongo mayoral candidate Nyambe Muyumbana at Imbowa New Apostolic Church in Kanyonyo Ward, Mongo District.
When the church is accepting such a thing, it gives us a hope that we are going somewhere. Meaning the church also, they are spreading the same message, the importance of empowerment. Most of the time we have said, you cannot make money through employment, but you can only make money through skills and entrepreneurship into business. You're going to make money, ensure that you uplift your life. So for us, it has been shown, and to us has been shown that the church is very serious. The church wants to work with the government, and the government's responsibility is to ensure that they respond to the youths in the church. You are aware that...
Meanwhile, Mongo mayoral candidate Nyambe Muyumbana says that the response by community members to empowerment programs by the UPND government is promising.
You know, this is in line with the New Dawn government. President Hakainde Hichilema has been encouraging the people of Zambia, the youths, to form cooperatives. And so this pleases us. God willing, if voted into office, we ensure that we work with these cooperatives. Because the money that has come, part of it is empowerment for women and the youth. So why shouldn't they access it and become an example you know, for those that still don't believe that empowerment can help people come out of poverty.
The youth chairman has since assured that the UPND party will continue working with the church going forward. Alex Shimba, Camnet News, Mungo District.
You're watching Camnet TV and not just another channel. We'll take a break. We'll be back with more news after the break.
Savenda. Save nations, develop Africa. Connecting African countries to each other and connecting the African continent to the world. This logistics and global supply chain management group offers end-to-end solutions across all sectors of the economy: agriculture, energy, telecommunications, finance, construction, transportation, and insurance. And now, its initiatives are greener than ever, operating in line with government guidelines and working to provide energy security for Zambia and beyond. 25 companies united under one group and one vision. Savenda. Trade and logistics made easy.
Team, the trajectory of the business looks very positive, and it looks like we'll be able to launch the ministry. Has so much data.
Mom.
Yes, baby.
It says here, global warming and climate change is caused by the pollution from careless activities of human beings.
Wow! Son, do you know I can turn my phone into a TV remote?
How's that possible?
It's so easy. Check this out.
Be smart, be fast with mega data from Zamtel. Get your 15 GB mobile data for only 100 kwacha, 30 GB mobile data for only 200 kwacha, and your 70 GB LTE data bundle with free Netflix, YouTube, Facebook, and WhatsApp. Visit our Facebook page, website, or service centers countrywide for more information. Zamtel, your digital lifestyle partner.
On Monday, 4th April 2022 on National Matters, join Pastor Moses Chiluba as he hosts former Secretary to Cabinet, Ambassador Leslie Mbula. Don't miss as they discuss the civil service in Zambia.
Invite others to participate through phoning on Skype, Zoom, WhatsApp, and text messages. Make a date with us. Camnet TV, not just another channel.
Welcome back. The opposition Democratic Party faction led by Judith Kabemba has charged that Mr. Harry Kalaba is trying to dupe the citizens through cheap propaganda politics by claiming that he won a case in which his leadership is being challenged before the Lusaka High Court. In a walk-in interview with Camnet, DP National Executive Committee member Justin Nkonge says it is disheartening to see how Mr. Kalaba is going around lying to the people that he won the case when in fact not. On Friday last week, Lusaka High Court Judge Charles Zulu ruled that there was no harm in resolving the Democratic Party's leadership wrangles through the judicial process. The court also found that the Kabemba faction established a prima facie case to have their concerns determined through the court process.
Meaning the matter is continuing now to determine whether Kalaba has been president or not. The injunction is still standing. There was no ruling concerning the injunction. The only ruling was on his preliminary matter, which he was trying to waste the court's time. And yesterday he lost. So it was surprising to see that he gets the first page of the ruling and posts on his Facebook and claims that I have been vindicated. Now the Zambians, now they are not like the Zambians that Kalaba used to know some time back. Zambians now are able to read for themselves and interpret the meaning of any ruling or any judgment. So people have now read, and now they are just pointing fingers at him. What type of a person who claims who wants to be the president and then he wants to do politics through propaganda? We can say that maybe there are two things. It's either Mr. Karabo is very dull, such that he can't interpret a single ruling, or is doing it deliberately in order to wink the minds of the Zambians, claiming that they are dull, they can't interpret. But Kalaba is being represented by some legal practitioners who should have interpreted that ruling to him. So I am left with no option but to know that Mr. Kalaba is just trying to dupe the people of Zambia through propaganda and claim that he has won some case. That is the plain truth.
The National Association for Medium and Small-Scale Contractors is optimistic that the 60% portion of the Constituency Development Fund meant for infrastructure development, translating into 3.6 million kwacha per constituency per quarter, will go a long way in the infrastructure sector. In an interview, Association President Edgar Sakachoma says the amount will not only ensure delivery of pieces of infrastructure, but also the creation of job opportunities for women and youths, thereby reducing urban migration to minimum levels. He adds that it also presents an opportunity for the country to create a cadre of tradesmen and women who will support economic growth by rendering technical services to the construction sector. Mr. Sakachoma says the association is anticipating huge reforms in the sector, which will enable its members to grow their businesses to sustainable levels.
Only ensure delivery of pieces of infrastructure in these places, but also the creation of job opportunities for women and youths, thereby reducing urban migration to acceptable levels. It also presents an opportunity for the country to create a cadre of tradesmen and women who will support economic growth by rendering their services, technical services, to the construction sector.
Minister of Foreign Affairs and International Cooperation, Stanley Kakubo, has announced that the President of Rwanda, Paul Kagame, will undertake a state visit to Zambia from the 4th to the 5th of April 2022. Mr. Kakubo confirmed the development in a statement made available to Camnet News. He explained that during the visit, which will be in Livingstone, the two heads of state are scheduled to hold bilateral talks that will focus on matters of mutual interest at bilateral, regional and international levels. He said the bilateral talks will be followed by the signing of 7 memoranda of understandings between Zambia and Rwanda in various sectors. Mr. Kakubo said this will promote the consolidation of bilateral ties between the two countries. The minister said Zambia and Rwanda share long-standing bilateral relations which are anchored on shared values and mutual respect. And President Hichilema has already arrived in Livingstone to welcome President Kagame tomorrow. This is Camnet TV News. We'll take another break. We'll be back with international and sports news after the break.
Your skin is the biggest muscle in your body. That's why we make sure that Oracle is #1 when it comes to taking care of your precious skin. Oracle Pure Petroleum Jelly and Glycerin soothes, moisturizes and keeps your skin perfect. Oracle Pure Petroleum products for that perfect skin.
We welcome you to the wonderful world of Savenda Electronics.
At Savenda Electronics, we pride ourselves in manufacturing high-quality electricity and water meters.
Boasting of the first of its kind state-of-the-art manufacturing plant in Zambia, Savenda Electronics manufactures customized smart electricity and water meters of international standards for both the local and international water and electricity utility companies. Our highly computerized factory, run by qualified staff, makes, calibrates, and electronically tests the smart meters to ensure only those meeting customer specifications are delivered to the market. Some of the main features which come with our meters includes notifications about low units, tempering, low battery, and many more customized features. Savenda Electronics provides on- and off-site after-sales service and has favorable contract terms for water and electricity utility companies. Savenda Electronics, the real deal.
On Monday, 4th April 2022 on National Matters, join Pastor Moses Chiluba as he hosts former Secretary to Cabinet, Ambassador Leslie Mbula. Don't miss as they discuss the civil service in Zambia.
Invite others to participate through phoning on Skype, Zoom, WhatsApp, and text messages. Make a date with us. Camnet TV, not just another channel.
And in international news, Morocco's village of Inzerki is proud to claim it has the world's oldest and largest collective beehive. But recently, the colonies have collapsed amid crippling drought. Meanwhile, more than 3 million people have fled Ukraine, and about the same number are internally displaced. Most have gone to border areas to seek safety. Many are caught in limbo in crammed makeshift shelters in western border areas far away from the fighting zone. For more in international news, here's a roundup.
In Morocco's village of Inzerki in the southwest of the country, silence has replaced the intense buzzing sound heard during springtime. The great bee colonies that once lived there have collapsed because of severe drought. An ecological and economic disaster for this village, which relies on the sustainability of this activity. The Inzerki beehive is the biggest and oldest collective beehive in the world. Its location is 100% strategic and it is bathed in sunlight all day long. It is located in the middle of the forest, and since the bees are next to the forest, the yield is better. The beekeeper says he has lost almost a third of his hives in just 2 months. This year, we hope to have some rain to preserve our bees. If I'm left with just 40 hives, I won't be at a loss. The goal is not to get honey, but to preserve the beehive and keep my bees alive. In order to support beekeepers and investigate on the cause of this disaster, the government released $13 million. Experts ruled out disease as a reason, blaming it on the country's worst drought in 3 decades.
Deep in the mountains in western Ukraine, close to the borders with Slovakia and Hungary, people fleeing war are coming to find peace. This is one of many centers in Uzhgorod for the internally displaced. Olga and her husband are from Kharkiv. They left their city under heavy shelling.
It was terrible when we saw the first planes. I was terrified. I didn't believe it. We packed our things in 5 minutes. It's taken me a long time to recover from the trip here. My soul is aching. It aches for my home. This is my motherland. It was so difficult to leave, really difficult.
This is their home, or what's left of it. And this is where they sleep now. It's just fine, she tells us. It's safe. And that is all that matters now. Tatiana sleeps next to them with her son. She tells us she's from Luhansk, near the Russian-occupied part, but the city is under Ukrainian control. Her story is about ordeal too.
We were waiting in a small basement hoping it would end for almost 3 weeks. We finally left in a humanitarian corridor which took 4 days to be successful. There weren't even 5 minutes of calm. They bombed us day and night. Our city is almost fully destroyed. I have nowhere to go back to.
Going back, that's what everyone here wants. For now, waiting it out, as far away from the war as they can physically get, without leaving their country. This one of the very few regions of Ukraine that hasn't been attacked.
This hole tells the story of the entirety of this war. People are from Mariupol, from Kharkiv, from Luhansk, from Donetsk, from Mykolaiv, from around the capital Kyiv. Many of them fled under shelling, each with their own stories of hell. And they keep coming.
Registration takes place in the center of Uzhgorod city. Basic supplies, clothes, medicine, toys are handed out. It is now 6 weeks into this war, and officials put the internally displaced in this region at around 250,000 people.
Uzhgorod is crowded. They arrive day and night, but many now don't even reach us as the city is full. So we place them in other areas around the region.
It's also putting a lot of pressure on the city and its residents.
People can still come and stay with their relatives at home. I have family with me too, but all hotels and apartments are full. They are really crowded. We know it's not local people, as we can see the car number plates from all over Ukraine.
Lives on hold, and yet life must continue. Many here tell us they've gotten used to this routine, sharing their space, happy to be safe. But at the same time, everything has changed, and many fear their lives may never be the same again. Stephanie Decker, Al Jazeera, Uzhgorod, in the Transcarpathian mountain range.
Let's now have some sports news. Red Arrows have beaten Green Eagles by 2-0 in the ABSA Cup semi-final. The goals came through Alassane Diarra in the 8th minute, while Edward Tembo netted the second goal in the 85th minute. Arrows will now face NAPSA Stars in the final of the ABSA Cup, slated for April 16 at Heroes Stadium. Susu Mukabanga of Green Eagles was man of the match and gets the 15,000 kwacha reward. To end Camnet TV News, the headlines once again. The UPND administration labelled clueless on reviving the economy. Government accused of backtracking on enacting the Access to Information Bill. The teachers' union demands the removal of retired teachers from government houses. In international news, Western Ukrainian cities in need of aid. And in sports news, NAPSA and Red Arrows to play in the ABSA Cup final. We now look at the Camnet verse for the day, which is coming from Acts 4, verse 11 to 12. This Jesus is a stone rejected by you builders, which has become the cornerstone. There is salvation in no one else, for there is no other name under heaven given to people, and we must be saved by it. Thank you for watching the news. My name is Jeffrey Zambo. Bye-bye.